What's going on, everyone, and welcome into Expected Bets for your go-to podcast for all things hockey betting. Fourth team preview here. We're going to continue in the Pacific Division. We got the LA Kings. I know this is another kind of barn burner, exciting episode after we just came off Edmonton, which is a little bit of serotonin after the Flames. So, you know what? You got to take your ups and downs here. But getting into this LA Kings team here, same old here. 48, 25, 9, 105 points last year, second in the Pacific. And what do you know?
Edmonton round one.
Another loss to Edmonton in round one for the fourth consecutive year. It is utterly insane just how this just winds up happening every single season. It is insane.
Trying to see if they had somebody on their roster named Bill Murray, but I couldn't find it.
You gotta feel bad for Kings fans, man. That's gotta be brutal.
All five of them?
Ooh.
Will Ferrell and who else?
Yeah, Will Ferrell, the LA Kings mascot, Kopitar's family.
Cartman's a big fan.
Cartman, yeah. And yeah, I think that's about it. No, I'm just a disgruntled Sabres fan, so I might take a few shots, but who knows? Maybe this is our year. Getting into the off-season additions, you got to start with none other than Joel Armia. Not the guy you thought I was going to say. Corey Perry, Cody Ceci, Ryan Joulin, Anton Forsberg, and new GM in town. So I think this new GM, we can get into it, but I think things are going to start getting interesting for this team fast if we do see another result here. Betsky, not really that many notable additions for this team at all, it seems like.
I mean, notable in a positive way, none. But, man, if you hate the Kings as much as I do, you love to see it. I mean, Corey Perry was great for Edmonton and did what he needed to do there. But that's not going to be your saving grace on this team that's already aging. Cody Ceci, though, holy cow, and Dumoulin being your defensive pickups while losing arguably two of your best defensemen, and Gabrick and did they lose Spence too?
Yes, or was it Gavrikov and Spence both year, gone? Right? Yes,
and then you lost Walker last year. I mean, this blue line of Anderson, Doughty, Edmondson, Brant Clark, who I had higher hopes for last season, and it takes a little bit more time for defensemen to really find their own, but man, it doesn't give you much faith now. And then Dumoulin and Ceci as your bottom pair.
This decor is, not looking great on paper at all here. Franco, just brief note about the GM here. I think this roster could get an overhaul sooner than later here. If Holland comes in and kind of wants to make a name for himself, you do have kind of that aging core, starting with Kopitar right up top there too. Another loss in the first round for this team. Doughty is your main guy on defense, both older. I could see this roster starting to have some more overturn next season, especially if his first year as GM kind of same thing as the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think I read there was a post on Twitter summarizing like all the seasons that Holland ran the Oilers, and I mean it was a lot of ups and downs. I mean there were some hits obviously along the way, but then you look at guys like Puljujärvi and I mean the list is ridiculous. I mean think about all the players they brought in to try to pair with McDavid that did not work out over the years. You know, like Dominic
drafted Matthew Tkachuk.
You know, so I don't know. To me, it's like you replaced Rob Blake, who needed to go because there were obvious issues there with the acquisitions he was making and decisions he was making. But I don't know that this is better. You know, this is a guy that was gifted McDavid. You know, that kind of covers up a lot of blemishes. So this team doesn't have McDavid to hide that, and if he can't figure out how to build around these players, it's going to get ugly quickly. I just worry. I mean, the vets are getting really up there in age. Kopitar and Doughty. You bring in Perry, who's like, what's Perry, like 42 now?
Yeah.
So just crazy. When you look at this construction, you know, they're not getting younger, and I just feel like they're starting to get. They look like a team that's more closer to being on the outside looking in. Let's put it that way.
Agreed, but two, in taking a step back here, I know we're not high on this team kind of overall, but looking at the Pacific Division in general here, like going through teams, they're better than San Jose, they're better than Anaheim, they're better than Calgary. So those are three right there. So they're currently sitting in fifth in the Pacific. And then if you want to go, now it gets interesting with Vancouver as well. Like, I don't think they're necessarily a bottom tier team, but again, it's not a team that you certainly see making a cup run this year by any means.
No, and that top nine is still nice. I mean,
Yeah.
if Byfield takes another step, Kempe is, I believe Kempe's up for a contract.
There's
So
a lot of guys
have
up for contract next year.
Yeah, so
A
you
lot
have
of
some
guys.
scoring upside here for sure. But man, this feels like one of those teams that cut a rebuild way too quickly, and don't have all the pieces that they should have had coming out of a rebuild, and just don't have a identity that I can trust anymore. The identity the past couple of years was great defense and system play. The defense is not great, and arguably your best legacy players are getting to the point where they're aging out, and even somebody like Darcy Kemper being 35 worries me.
Yeah, I mean, he bring in Forsberg this offseason too, not necessarily kind of the backup that's been reliable in the past. I mean, he's shown flashes, but so most kind of backups around the league, it feels like here. Their season points total at 98.5 across both books, which is something we haven't really seen so far. So they're expecting some regression. But again, to that point before, they should be the third or fourth best team in this division. Kind of with that Vancouver, if Vancouver can get there, the biggest, I think the most interesting prop for this team comes down to make the playoffs. I think that's where you start with this team out of any sort of props. Franco, are you kind of leaning yes? It's still minus 350, so the books are expecting them at 95.5 points, or what are you kind of looking at in the team betting market here?
I think if I was going to take a shot on anything, I would take a little sprinkle on the no at plus 260.
Yep, me too.
I don't mind the under 98.5 as well, but I think if you're going to go that way, you might as well just go to miss the playoffs. No, because I mean, Calgary missed at 96 points last year, so if they're going to be under 98.5, they're going to be around the cusp of the playoffs anyway. So I think that's the way to go. And you're getting a plus 260 price tag that feels pretty good. I do think this could be another team kind of in the same vein as Calgary, where they could be sellers at the deadline if things aren't going the way that they planned.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, just looking at the playoff picture here, out of the Central, you got Dallas, Colorado, Minnesota, Utah, St. Louis, kind of all in that bubble right around there. Winnipeg as well. And then in the Pacific, Edmonton, Vegas. From there, Vancouver, LA. That's your third spot right there.
I know.
It feels
it's tough. It
feels like the Pacific's only getting 3 this year.
It's the equivalent of the Metro right now.
Yeah. I think in terms of kind of team future bets here too, Franco, I do like the Kings to miss the playoffs here. I think that blue line could be a major issue this year, especially if Doughty does kind of really start to show his age and regress here. I also like another bet here of stage of elimination. This is the first time I've seen this bet. Kings to lose in the first round at plus 160. So those are two bets. Them to miss the playoffs at plus 260 and to be eliminated in the first round of the playoffs if they do make it, because I don't see this team going on a run.
That's plus money on each side. Yeah. You're either doubling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Any sort of kind of player futures on this side? Look at Kempe, Fiala, like none of these really kind of jump off the page for me.
Well, Kempe goals could be interesting being on the contract here, right?
Yeah.
That's where I would go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Contract year guys just always seem to smash. So he'll be a guy you're wanting to bet game in and game out, and I don't think it's a bad. I mean, so in a situation like this, right? His 30 goals is minus 200. His 40 goals is plus 500. Does it make sense just to bet his goal prop? Not every night, obviously, but bet his goal prop a good amount throughout the season. I feel like you're just going to make out better off that way.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Fiala, too, I think coming off his worst performance in the last 4 seasons here, only 60 points in 81 games. You look at his 70-point margin here. Interestingly enough, minus 105 for Fiala to have 70 points on DraftKings, plus 165 to him with that same benchmark on FanDuel. So, as always, shop around with these player props. I don't necessarily hate that. I do think he's going to kind of bounce back from there. But that's really kind of all I have. No awards really jump out for me.
There's one.
Kopitar for the Lady Bing.
No. Byfield for the Selke is kind of interesting at 10,000. I mean, that's a little dash of a sprinkle, but if he can really step up his two-way game and, Barkov gets hurt or something, I mean, again, a buck or two, but
yeah. I mean, Kopitar's won the Selke twice, was 8th in voting last year for this award. He's at 20 to 1, Byfield at 100 to 1 in that one too. Philip Denault 17th in Selke voting last year.
Not big enough name. They give me Byfield. Byfield getting like 75 points, and he overtakes the top line because Kopitar's getting old. Just dishing them over to Kempe every other game. Barkov gets hurt. There you go. That's the picture I'm painting.
Yeah. If you think Byfield's going to get 75, does his season points at 70 plus at plus 165 interest you at all?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
That I don't mind that. I wish it was closer to plus 200 though. I mean,
he had 54 last year, 55 the previous year, and now at 70 points plus 165. That is kind of a big jump where he was stagnant the last year. So, but
I actually felt like he was better last year than that.
He had like a nice run. No, he had a really nice run. I feel like early in the season he wasn't doing much. I think this is a team in general that will be fun to bet on, like for player props throughout the season, because I think they'll score. I think this team has enough scoring depth. You know what I mean? Like I think when players heat up, like that second line heats up or that first line heats up, usually the value is there on them. So this isn't like the Flames where it's like I don't know what I'm going to want to bet, game to game. Carolina. But I feel like this is a team like you can actually bet on, even if we don't think they're necessarily going to be great.
Yeah, and they could be down a lot net this time around.
Yeah, that could help. Not playing.
They may not be able to strangle opponents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kopitar plus 260 for 70 plus points, had 67, 70, 74, 67. Is an interesting number, though. I just wanted to point that out, too.
That's crazy that it's more than Byfield. I think that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
That's the veteran bias.
All right. Anything else before we wrap up this team preview?
Kings stink.
All right. We want to thank everyone for tuning in to this episode of Expected Bets 4, and we'll catch you guys later. See ya.